2010 national elections were dubbed as historic after the Philippines experienced its first fully automated polls, where counting of votes was fully transmitted digitally up to the national canvassing. This was supposed to be an improvement from the country's tedious process of manual counting, which stretched the elections into weeks and months before winners were proclaimed. The automated polls were implemented through Republic Act No. 9369. The system was aimed to encourage transparency, credibility, fairness, and accuracy in the elections. But after the main machine, called the PICOS, or the Precinct Count Optical Scan, suffered glitches, and after several election watchdogs expressed doubts as to its security features, they say the 2010 and the 2013 elections were only a partial success. Less than 2 years before the 2016 national polls, critics of full automation are calling on Congress to enact a law for a so-called open election system, where votes at the precinct level will be counted manually, while the canvassing will remain automated. These groups are hoping that this system can work better and erase doubts from the voters. Welcome to Opposing Views, a hard, straightforward discussion of today's most pressing issues. Elections, perhaps, is the most exciting occasion for Filipinos after Christmas or birthdays. But it's also a serious task in nation building. It's a hard-won right. Its success benefits us all, but its failure is the failure of our country too as well. So we continue to question the system to further improve it. So our debate question for tonight: which election system is better? Full automation or open elections? Good evening, I'm Rodney Pomoceno, and this is Opposing Views. All right, joining us tonight in our discussion is Director James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC. Good evening, Director James.
Good evening, Rod.
Yes, can you give us your quick thoughts on this debate question? Which system is better?
Well, of course, we believe that full automation is better for various reasons that we'll probably explain later. But in general, it's mostly because with an automated system, you have minimum human intervention, and you can be sure that the results are fully recountable and that it's fully verifiable towards the end.
All right, thank you very much, James. On the opposing side is Mr. Gus Lagman, former COMELEC Commissioner, an IT expert, and member of the Automated Election System Watch. Good evening, Gus.
Good evening, Rod.
Yes, can you give us your quick thoughts on this debate question? Which is better, full automation or open elections?
Well, we were the ones who introduced the open election system, which we have now renamed Transparent and Credible Election System, so that it would be more clear to the public. And we believe it is much better because it's more transparent. As a matter of fact, the automation part of the system makes the system more transparent, unlike PICOS, which make it less transparent.
All right. Okay. So let's start the discussion right now. Gus, I'll throw the first question to you because you mentioned you recently or you warned recently that of a sham in the PICOS bidding. No? And what is your basis on that statement that this whole bidding on the PICOS machines was a sham?
I don't remember saying that it's going to be a sham, but what I did say is that why are we rushing the bidding at this time, especially that the chairman and two of the commissioners will retire February 2, 2015. I think that the delicadeza dictates that that the decision and the bidding be left to the new commissioners and the new chairman.
That's why you're questioning it, because
because this will look like a midnight contract, which is not good.
Okay, honestly. What are your thoughts on that, James?
Well, I'm kind of sad that that Commissioner Lagman, former Commissioner Lagman, forgot that he was quoted. But he didn't exactly, to be fair to him, he didn't exactly say that there was going to be a sham bidding. I guess the question was, the conversation was talking about yung bidding-biddingan, that was the word that was in vogue then.
So we kind of translated it also.
Yes, and what Commissioner Lagman said was, and at least based on the quotes, was that that's very possible. So that's where that whole sham thing came. Now, as to what former Commissioner Lagman said about there being delicadeza issues and things like that, we did publish the bidding calendar for this particular process for 2016, and it's very clear there that the award will take place after the retirees have left. So as far as we're concerned, we think that there is no danger there, especially since now that the commissioners are still there, we're still just really starting the project. We're still starting the bidding, and we're not just starting the bidding, we're opening it up. It's a very transparent process now. In fact, in a week's time, we'll have an open demonstration of all the machines that are available. And at that point, no decision will be made yet. So the commissioners who are retiring, they will not be there.
Or they won't be participating?
Well, they'll probably be listening to everything, but they will not be there when the awards are made.
Okay,
so they're not part of that process.
Your thoughts on that? What you mentioned earlier about it possibly being like a midnight appointment.
Okay.
It seems that fear is baseless now, based on what James said.
In 2009, the year before the 2010 elections, the contract was signed July 2009. In 2012, the contract was signed March 2012 for the 2013 elections.
Yeah, yes.
So there's a lot of time, actually, to do the bidding, especially because COMELEC, if they still plan to use PICOs, they already have 82,000 of those. So all of the preparations, what do you call this, the maintenance, the repair of those systems can all be done now. The most important part that should be done as early as now, and which was a big problem in both the 2010 and 2013 elections, is transmission, the electronic transmission. And, well, I hope that they are discussing with the telcos now, because that's where the big problem is. That should be started right away.
But is there distrust on your part in regards to the PICOS machines?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Can you elaborate on your distrust?
I got a lot of
machines?
calls after especially the 2013 elections. I got a lot of calls from, well, obviously losing candidates, especially in the local
Well, as they say here, that no one ever loses an election.
The problem is, and this is one of the defects of the system, is it impairs the protest process. Because what document are you going to use? You cannot trust the election returns printed by PICOS.
There's no hard evidence.
You can only trust the ballots. But the ballot boxes will not be opened unless there's a protest. So, but how can you protest when the ballots are inside the ballot box? It's a catch-22 thing. So it has seriously impaired the protest process. And so a lot of candidates know that, hey, me losing in my precinct, you know,
that's kind of strange, no?
What document can they use to
James,
protest?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Before we go to that, because we started somewhere else and now we're ending up in a different place. Before we go to that, let's talk about the timing. Commissioner Lagman here said that...
Just call me Gus, James.
Gus. Okay. Thank you. I was waiting for that. Anyway, so Gus here was saying that apparently we're starting too early for them. But I don't know if he remembers, but when we did the previous elections, when we were following the old calendar, everyone was saying that, you need to do it more, sooner.
Earlier.
You need more time. And now we have more time. We have about 6 months, I think. I plotted that. And it's really just a difference of about 6 months. And now apparently that's also a problem. In any system, when you're starting to do this kind of thing, you want to have as much time as possible.
Do you think the problem is brought about by the fact that there's a little bit of distrust on the Smartmatic machines acquired in 2010?
Let's not pull punches. There's a lot of distrust from certain quarters. Not a lot of distrust from a lot of people, especially from the voting public. There's a lot of distrust from certain quarters. Just very well-defined quarters. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is that it doesn't matter if you're only bidding for 20,000 or 80,000 because the process is the same. It takes as long. you know, to sort through the different bids, to sort through the different tenders, and you need that much time. So I think that's a very important point that's being glossed over, is that when you're preparing a complex system like this, you want to have as much time as possible.
But you still believe, though, that the Smartmatic machines, the PCOS machines acquired in 2010, 2013, can still do the job amidst doubts? Even if there's, as we know in elections, even if there's doubts in some sectors, if there's still doubt, obviously it's still a problem.
Right, of course. And they will always be there to tell you that they doubt the results, right? As far as the Smartmatic machines are concerned, the ones that we bought from Smartmatic, with that, we're pretty much left with no choice. We were given a budget. We asked for a budget that would have allowed us to get a brand new set of machines. Of course, when we said that, there was a lot of complaint. Why not use the old machines? Now that we're forced to use the machines because the budget that we were given was not enough to get the whole 120 new machines, now they're saying, you know, why are you using the old machines? Can't figure this out. But like I said, we have no choice but to use the old machines. The thing that we're doing to assure the people is that we're guaranteeing everyone that none of these machines will be fielded unless they are 100% tested. So, you know, we think that that's a safeguard. That's very important.
Okay, James, at this point, we'll pause with that statement. We need to take a short break. Meanwhile, you can join the debate via Facebook at facebook.com/opposingviews on 9TV, or tweet your thoughts at opposing_views. Use the hashtag OVElections2016. Stay tuned. Opposing Views. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. We have with us Director James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, and Mr. Gus Lagman, former COMELEC commissioner, now member of an election watchdog, Automated Elections System Watch. Our debate question for tonight: which election system is better, full automation or open elections? Now, just before the break, James, you were making a point that you didn't really have a choice, or the COMELEC didn't have a choice. Right. You still use the PCOS machines that were used in 2010, 2013. Right. Gus, your thoughts? You think that COMELEC didn't have a choice and had to use them?
You know, in early 2012, I was still a commissioner, and we were debating whether the COMELEC can in fact exercise the option to purchase those machines. The main argument of all the commissioners, and I was the one who was opposing it, was that if we purchase the machines, then we can use and reuse it in several elections in the future.
Yes.
Now they want to buy new machines, and they're saying, well, we cannot use the old machines. I mean, I'm confused. What do they really want? That was the argument that they used in 2012. Now, that argument seems to be very weak now. And they want to buy new machines. The problem is, they need to repair those machines. And that's what I've been telling them.
Why do they want to buy new machines? Is it because of all the violations that were happening with those machines?
In fairness, because they want to open more precincts.
Okay.
And that's why they want to buy more machines. However, they seem to be saying that, you know, we really want to buy all new machines. I've heard Chairman Brillantes say that. But what happened to the argument that he used in 2012 that this can be used and reused and reused in the future? And I told them, if you do that, we'll have to pay for warehousing. We'll have to pay for maintenance, you know, and it's going to be very costly. And many of those machines will not be operational 3 years from now.
All right. So James, what are your thoughts on that? I can see Gus's point, no? That I think when we bought the machines, that was the whole idea, was that we can use these machines every election. I mean, I'm sure the intention was not to use them in 1 or 2 elections only.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's still true. We in fact, we are using the machines, right? We are using the 80+ thousand machines now, which just goes to show you that yes, that argument does hold water. Now, faced with a situation where you can legally get new machines instead of using the old machines? That was the question that was being weighed by the commission. And we presented to Congress the option, various options, some of which included using the old machines. And
in 2016.
In 2016, and that's what Congress went for. Also, the advisory council advised, that we should use the same technology, and since we had that, so that's what we're using now.
So now, obviously, in automated elections, two issues come to mind: no? Security of the system and technology, the technology to use. Do you feel that the COMELEC is trusting Smartmatic too much, and no one else comes close to the integrity of Smartmatic's machine?
Well, I wouldn't frame it that way. First of all, we're using the machines that we bought from Smartmatic because they're ours. But the other new machines that we're buying now, which will see action after 2016 also, or I guess relatively the same machines, they might not be from Smartmatic even, because it is an open bidding. We have, at this moment, 5 interested parties who might offer their own solutions. As long as it's still OMR, we're still going to use it.
So basically, you're still open.
Exactly.
You're open. Gus, you're proposing to do manual counting, and then the transmission will be electronic, right?
That's
Do you
right.
think this is some sort of regression? And perhaps you might want to, I know you prepared something to explain why this is not a regression.
As a matter of fact, COMELEC and some politicians would keep on saying that why are these IT practitioners proposing going back to manual precinct counting?
Yeah, it seems to be a step back.
Yeah.
At least from an ordinary person's point of view.
Perhaps, I prepared a chart, just one chart.
Okay.
So that this would be clear to not only to the COMELEC, if it's not clear to them, but to some politicians and to televiewers.
All right. So can you probably show
if
that?
You can show the chart, I'd
chart?
walk you through this chart. No?
All right.
Okay.
Generally, Gus, can you summarize what you have regarding comparing the options we have now?
Our election system consists of 4 phases. The voting, which in the past manual system, starts at 7 o'clock and ends at 3 o'clock.
All right.
And then the teachers will rest for a while, and then they start counting at the precinct level.
So there we have the chart being shown right now. No?
That's right. And then after that, they transport, after the counting, they prepare the election returns, which they put into the ballot, the ballots are in the ballot boxes, plus the election returns. These are physically transported to the Municipal Board of Canvassers for canvassing.
Now, you might want to explain what canvassing is.
Canvassing?
What happens in canvassing
is nothing but the consolidation of the election returns coming from the different precincts.
Okay, it's a consolidation process.
Yeah. Now, our canvassing, our consolidation consists of 3 stages. We have the city or municipal canvassing, and the result of the canvassing at the municipal level, meaning the total votes garnered by each and every candidate in the city or municipality is summarized into what is called the Certificate of Canvass, COC.
Yes.
That is now going to be transported to the Provincial Board of Canvassers.
Okay.
Okay? And all the COCs coming from the different cities and municipalities in that province will be consolidated by the Provincial Board of Canvassers. And then they prepare the Provincial COC, or Provincial Certificate of Canvass. All the provinces will have their summaries, their consolidated figures.
Yes.
Those will then be sent to the National Board of Canvassers.
Okay.
So 3 stages yan.
Okay.
Now,
so what you're proposing is that we remain in the manual process in the voting part.
If I may, so that it would be clear to the televiewers.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
in the pure manual system, and I have simplified this even more, by combining the voting and precinct counting as one stage, and then the transport or electronic transmission and canvassing in another. So 2 phases na lang. The voting and precinct counting under the pure manual system takes 24 hours. Okay? The physical transport and canvassing used to take 25 to 41 days. So 24 hours for the voting and precinct counting, 25 to 41 days for the transport and
So it's really the transporting and the canvassing that takes time.
That takes time, and that's where dagdag bawas happens.
Okay.
Huh?
All right.
Okay. In the PICOS-based system, the voting and precinct counting only takes 12 hours. Because they open at 7 and they close at 7.
Okay.
So 12 hours.
Okay.
I'm not even counting the precinct counting anymore.
Yeah.
Because it only takes a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Okay. The time savings, therefore, by using PICOS is 12 hours.
Okay.
Because we use PICOS, COMELEC is asking for 16 billion pesos. Okay? In 2010, COMELEC spent 11.3 billion. And in 2013, almost 9 billion to save 12 hours. But the electronic transmission and canvassing only took 5 days. The time savings in canvassing, therefore, is 20 to 36 days. The cost of running an automated canvassing system is only 1 billion.
Okay.
What costs a lot is the voting and is the precinct
right.
counting.
Okay.
Okay? Now, in the open election system, which we now call transparent and credible election system, manual counting at the precinct level. So back to 24 hours. Okay? That the cost is only 4 billion because we want to make it more transparent by using some tools.
All
And
right.
I can explain that later.
Okay.
The canvassing is the same as the PICOS-based system. 5 days.
5 days also.
And the savings
And the cost
is
is also
20
1
to
billion.
36 days. The cost is also 1 billion.
Now, guys, at this point, I need to interrupt you because I'll have to give
Okay.
James
Yes,
a chance
sure.
to interject.
Here we go.
Sure.
All
In
right.
fact, I want him to.
All right.
James, your thoughts on this?
Yes.
In summary, what Gus is saying is that this transparent
And credible election.
credible
Yes.
election system
System.
will only cost 1 billion,
Decrease.
1 billion pesos. And then
4 billion.
And 4 billion.
Because of what we
Because-
propose to do.
Yeah,
No?
the
All right.
tools that they're going to use. First of all, I have the same thing that you have on your screen right now.
Okay.
And I'd like to congratulate Gus.
For doing this
Nice,
matrix.
nice presentation. First of all, first thing I'd like to point out is if you notice, for both PICOS and TCRES, he puts down the time it takes for electronic transmission at 5 days. And that's awesome because prior to this particular moment, everyone's been saying that transmission has been taking too long and we're supposed to have a problem with that. Apparently, we don't have a problem with that. And we have the same idea of how long it should take. So thank you.
For the transmission.
For the transmission. Second thing, while this, okay, the first part is a little oversimplified, I think. As you heard Gus say, he did crunch a lot of parts together just for the sake of simplicity. What he's missing here, I think, is that first of all, it's not just the 4 parts that he was explaining, because you have to understand that in a manual election, each of those first 2 parts actually take forever. The manual counting isn't as quick as all of that. Every vote is contested. Every vote is challenged. So that takes a lot of time. And during the counting itself, that's when the teachers are most vulnerable. So the time savings of 12 hours should not be considered as a flat value.
Yeah,
it's not just about time. It's about the security of the teachers. It's about the accuracy of the recording of the votes. Remember, dagdag bawas, sure, some of it happens during the canvassing process. But if you start out with a flawed document, then it makes it easy to cheat downstream. And usually, and one of the presentations I remember giving a long time ago is that it's in the taras that the mistakes are made.
The taras.
Yeah, it's the stick figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd see them interpreted in the original documents. 5 sticks dash 1, that should be 6, right?
Yeah.
But when they start preparing the election returns, some of them, they write that 5-1. 51. So dun pa lang nagsisimula na yung manipulation.
Okay.
And why does that happen? It happens because in a vast majority of the precincts, these people are not really watched. And in fact, it's during those long 12 hours that these influences come in. People come in with envelopes of money, people come in with guns, people intimidate people.
Not to mention the teachers being
Not to mention
tired.
the teachers. And finally, at the very end of this process, let's say you get through all of that, The teachers are scared. You know why? Because they're the ones who are supposed to prepare the election returns. And if they're the ones supposed to prepare the election returns, then they're the ones who are going to be targeted for retribution later on.
The threats on them.
The threats on them. And sure, you can break it down and say that, you know, this all comes down to hours, but that would be unfair because it doesn't just come down to hours.
All right, Gus, I'll let you interject your thoughts on that.
Okay.
I mean, do you think that the manual precinct counting can guarantee, one, accuracy, and two, security?
A couple of things, no? Number one, protests are not allowed at the precinct counting. They're allowed in canvassing.
No, sir, they're challenged.
You can only challenge, and that's minuted.
And that has to
and
be
that's
resolved.
put in the minutes.
Yes.
But
And that
you know,
takes time.
debates are not allowed. Okay.
In the manual counting, you mean?
In the precinct.
The precinct, yeah. Okay.
The lawyers come in during the canvassing.
Canvassing, all right.
Okay. Second, and this is the problem with COMELEC. There is a problem, and their solution is PICOS. Why can't they think of other solutions? And that's what I'm questioning. In fact, I have here in my at the bottom of my chart, did the COMELEC or the COMELEC Advisory Council even bother to do this very simple project analysis?
And I have my own question.
Wait. Yes. James mentioned a few, parang robot na nga yung kanyang, yung kanyang delivery. But anyway, he mentioned that there's a problem of tired teachers, etc., etc. Why not use another group to do the counting? Okay.
Not just teachers.
We are proposing that during the TARAS, an iPad be used, and at the same time that the manual TARAS is being done, there is also a TARAS using an iPad. And this iPad is connected to a projector, LCD projector, and it's projected so that more people can see the TARAS counting.
So it's kind of semi-automated.
It becomes, not really, because it's still the manual.
It's still the manual,
that is
but
the
there's at least a...
that's the official count.
All right.
Okay? But more people would be able to see the process.
All right, okay.
And that makes it more transparent, not less.
All right, guys. At this point, we need to pause. We need to take a short break, and I'll let you interject,
No problem.
James, on that point of Gus when we return. But keep tweeting and posting comments on our social media pages, ladies and gentlemen. More issues on automated elections when we return. You're watching Opposing Views. We'll be right back.
Manual na lang po. Mas maganda po yan para walang daya.
Siguro automated na lang para mabilis ang proseso.
Automated kasi mas reliable.
Yung po, automatic. Mas mabilis yung process.
Automated ang gusto ko kasi mabilis eh.
Manual na lang para walang daya.
Manual. Kasi mahirap dayain yung manual.
Welcome back. You're still watching Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. Still with us, Director James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, and Mr. Gus Lagman, former COMELEC commissioner, and now member of an election watchdog, the Automated Elections System Watch. Our question, which election system is better, full automation or open elections? Now, right before the break, Gus, you were making a point on the TARA system. No? Minsan, how you propose suggestions on how we can, I guess, safeguard the cheating sometimes that happens in the TARA system and not just in the actual counting of the votes, no? And because you mentioned that earlier, James.
Right.
Would you like to comment on Gus's, I guess, proposals in enhancing the TARA system?
Well, you know what? In a more idealized setting, having all of those gadgets might help. Of course, that's what technology does. But ultimately, you're talking about people. And the whole idea of automation really is about human intervention, about minimizing human intervention. In that situation that Gus was trying to paint for us, you have people with tablets, you have more people basically in the polling places. You have to understand, we have more than, I think we have close to 120,000. We're looking at the possible 100,000+ polling places. You have double now the number of people there. You have added people watching. but does that really make it more secure? You have to understand that's precisely why human intervention is vulnerable, because humans can get tired, they can get bribed, they can get intimidated or coerced, and it doesn't matter if they have these tablets with them. You know, technology is neutral. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad, and if you happen to get to the people who have control of these things, then, you know.
So you're saying if there are more people guarding the ballot, it's not going to have an impact?
Well, it's going to have an impact for the first few hours, certainly. People are not going to do it in broad daylight. But in the dead of night, when most people have gone home, that's when the fix starts to come in, right? And that is a possibility that that is not being addressed by the whole idea that, you know, you throw more people into the process. Automation works because it simplifies everything drastically. It puts all of these operations inside a machine that will not be intimidated, that will not be coerced, and that will end the process as quickly as possible.
And will also not be able to question it, right?
Yeah, you can question it. You can question it. In fact, from 2010 and 2013, haven't people been saying that mas maraming reklamo, that there have been more complaints? Of those complaints, have any actually shown that the PCOS was proven to be wrong in the counting?
Okay. Guys, I'll let you comment on that.
If you want to control the result of elections in, let's say, one municipality with, let's say, 1,000 precincts, you have to have operators in 1,000 precincts, right?
That's a given. We have to have.
If you want to control the results. With PCOS, all you need is one technical person.
Well,
and you can do that. And you can do that. Many, you know, we really suspect that happened especially in 2013. One technical person is all you need to control the results. And especially because the source code was not reviewed. So we don't know what that machine is doing.
May
right?
I? Because
sure, James.
It's very vulnerable to automated cheating, and that's the problem. You see?
With all due respect to Mr. Lagman, that's an egregious statement, because it is not true that the source code was not reviewed. It was reviewed. And in fact, we gave opportunities for people from Mr. Lagman's quarters the opportunity. And if I remember correctly, and I'm sure I do, that the word used was boycott. They chose not to review when they were given the opportunity to review. We can argue until the cows come home about the regulations that were put in place, but suffice it to say, the Supreme Court said those regulations were reasonable. The fact is, the source code was reviewed. I'd just like to kill that right here, right now.
Quick response to that as well.
Okay.
Quick response to that.
Yes.
The law, Republic Act 9369, says it should be reviewed by an international certification body.
Which was
and
done,
that's
sir.
SLI. That was done, okay?
Thank you.
It took them maybe 4 months. It was offered to the locals, because that's also in the law, that as soon as the technology is determined, it should be made, the source code should be made available to all interested parties and groups. That's in the law.
Yes.
I know that. I was part of the technical working group that helped the Senate craft that law, okay? And that was not done. In 2013, it was being offered to the group 4 days, I think, before the elections. It took SLI 4 months to do it.
No,
so
but
there was no way.
Let's not even discuss that anymore.
No, but
that's a very lame. That's a very lame.
No, sir. Let's just
argument.
establish that point.
We're just wasting
Were you
time.
given the opportunity? Yes, you were. You went to the Supreme Court for
with
it.
restrictions.
And exactly.
With restrictions.
And the restrictions were validated by the Supreme Court. You didn't come. It was
SLI,
open for you.
Did SLI have restrictions when they reviewed it?
Now you're talking about two different things.
All right, James. Now, there's obviously a lot of...
no, you're talking two different elections.
That's a dead argument.
I'll have to interject now.
Sure.
Gentlemen. Now, James, there seems to be at least the impression that, that the COMELEC is not being transparent enough, or do you feel that you have exhausted, that the COMELEC has exhausted all efforts and all measures to be as transparent as possible? Or do you think that perhaps you could have been more transparent to the people? Well,
we are working very hard to enhance our transparency further. We feel that we've done what we needed to do. And because of the pushback, which was considerable, and not all of it unreasonable, I have to say. That's precisely why we're working to enhance the transparency. But as far as the past elections are concerned, 2010, 2013, I think we did everything that needed to be done.
Okay, Gus, do you agree? Do you think that the COMELEC has been transparent enough regarding this?
No, not at all.
Where do you think they failed in terms of transparency?
Well, I mentioned the
apart from
source code.
the source code, yeah.
The digital signature is also in the law, but the instruction that they gave the BEI, the Board of Election Inspectors, is that if you're asked if you're going to key in your digital signature, your answer should be no. I mean, you know, a lot of violations, but let's not even bother about that. The thing is, and by the way, when I was with the commission, when I was with the COMELEC, I even asked the COMELEC IT group to develop our own canvassing system. The canvassing system that was bought from Smartmatic cost 58 million. It only cost 600,000 pesos for the COMELEC IT group to develop our own.
And it's the same quality? Is it the same quality?
But the chairman didn't want to use it.
Do you know why?
If they used that, it would be more difficult to tamper with it.
Do you know why?
I can't understand. I mean, it defies logic. It defies logic. But the only thing that I can see is that if the COMELEC developed canvassing system, it would be difficult to tamper with it because the COMELEC people will know.
It, yeah.
On the other hand, if you use the Smartmatic canvassing system, only Smartmatic would know.
Which leads me again to the question, James. There seems to be this trust, not distrust, but this trust on Smartmatic, and it seems to be a very, I guess the impression again of people is that the COMELEC is so close to Smartmatic that they wouldn't let go or wouldn't question them.
Well, before I go into that, and I will, I'd just like to point out that I'm surprised that former Commissioner Lagman is so at a loss. No, I'd like to remind him that the law says that you can't use a system that hasn't been used in a previous election. So if you developed it in 2011, then you obviously can't use it in 2013. That's not something that the COMELEC has a lot of freedom on. With regard to the question of the trust deficit that Smartmatic seems to be sort of enjoying, that's the thing that I'm looking at really right now. And that started during the bidding in 2009. When I think they really bid very aggressively, and they were the last bidder standing. And I think it stems from a misapprehension from the public of why that happened. You know, a lot of people probably didn't understand why a lot of the other bidders were knocked out, right? And so parang maybe that's where it comes from. After that, it became a question now of the details of the, you know, what they call glitches. Despite the fact that all of those observations have been answered, in fact, ruled upon by the Supreme Court, they persist. Now, why they persist, that's really up to those people who are, you know, still propagating those doubts.
Okay, let's go to the cost now. Do you agree with what Gus was saying, that this would be more
Can I respond first to
Sure. Okay, Gus,
what he was
I'll give you
saying?
that opportunity.
He was saying that the law does not allow the use of that canvassing system developed by the COMELEC because it has not been tried. You know, the law says that the technology should have been used in previous election. The technology is the same, using PCs and servers. Okay, only the program is different. That does not change the system. Okay, in the 2013 elections, I'm sure that Smartmatic modified the program to adapt to the 2013 elections. So remember, we had the ARM election, etc., etc. The moment you modify just one instruction in a computer program, it's untested. So they're the same. So Chairman Brillantes and I debated for some 20 minutes on it, and I was explaining to him that it's the same system. The technology that we use, servers and PCs, are being used all over the world. In fact, whether election systems or corporate systems, The technology is the same.
Right.
And yet they didn't want to use it.
Also, the only way to have a system which has been already used in the past, you should be able to use it.
Of course.
Before it
Of
can
course.
be used in the next
Now,
elections.
they're saying we cannot use that because the law says it cannot be. Why didn't they allow the locals to review the source code? Why did they use digital signatures?
Akala ko pwede
That's
na
a
natin
violation
babalikan
of, that's a violation of the law.
Yeah, we already discussed that,
I
Gus.
know,
So,
I know, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, you're saying we cannot use that because the law does not
Sige,
allow it.
let's
and yet,
let's talk about cost. No? Kasi a lot of, obviously, our televiewers are taxpayers. And
Yes.
they don't want to be spending more than they ought. No?
Yes.
So let's
And
talk
that,
about
I feel you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the cost. Yung proposal ba ni Gus, James, you think is more cost efficient, or do you think it'll cost the taxpayers more?
Oh, well, I think based on the figures that Gus has been, presenting, obviously it will cost a lot less. But again, it requires a return to a manual system of counting, and that might be the biggest roadblock here. And I understand that Gus has some arguments about why that would be allowed without the need for an amendment of law. But until those things are ironed out, for us, it's a roadblock.
You have to work with that.
Yeah.
You have to work. All right. Gus, I need to take a short break, but don't go away. When we come back, I will let you have a rejoinder there. The final points of our guests and the results of our ongoing online poll. May elections din kami dito. Please stay tuned. You're watching Opposing Views. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Opposing Views. I'm Ron De Pomoceno. Still with us, Director James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, and Gus Lagman, former COMELEC commissioner, now member of an election watchdog, the Automated Elections System Watch. Our question, which election system is better, full automation or open elections? Now, just before we took a break, James was making a point that we can't regress back to the manual system of elections because of certain legal roadblocks or law roadblocks. Gus, your thoughts on that?
There is no legal roadblock because number one, the law says the COMELEC is authorized to automate the voting, the counting, transmission, and canvassing.
Meaning it's an
the
option.
word they used was authorized.
It's an option.
Which is different from mandated. Okay, so it's an option. As a matter of fact, in 2007, because there was not enough time to automate it, they reverted to manual. Okay, now, this is a very important point. The COMELEC and some politicians and some media people have been demonizing the manual precinct counting. This is very serious because many countries, in fact, in the world, are going back to manual precinct counting because it's more transparent.
Going back or maintaining manual?
Going back.
Going back, all right.
From automated
they went from
to
PICOs
to manual.
Okay.
Not necessarily PICOs. They can be DRE, they can be OMR. But they're going back to manual. The latest one, and I only saw it last week.
Australia.
It's Australia. But Germany, Netherlands, Ireland, they went back to manual. Even many states in the U.S. are going back to...
The reason being?
Because it's not transparent. There's an NGO in the U.S. called Black Box Voting. They said, we should not allow, the elections to be, automated precinct counting because it's not transparent and it's completely controlled by the election administrators, which in our case is COMELEC, and their vendors. Because they can, it's automated, you don't know what's going on in that machine. So many countries have gone back.
I want to ask
And
James
going
a comment on that. If a lot of these first world countries are going back to the manual counting, or the manual
Precinct counting.
Precinct counting.
Yeah. That would be a good
what are your thoughts on
comparison
that?
if it were apples on apples, but it's not. In all of the examples cited, they were rolling back from electronic voting, which is not something that we're doing. What we're doing is a automated counting. Now, electronic voting is particularly dangerous precisely because there is no ballot. The vote exists ephemerally. It's just there. It's an electronic creation.
Whereas here we have...
Whereas you have a ballot,
Oh.
which is recountable. And in fact, in Germany, that was precisely the reason why it was ruled unconstitutional, because they could not recount it. There was no reliable means of showing the voters, now, you know what, these are the ballots, and these are the votes. It was never a question of whether an individual can identify an individual ballot also. It's not like saying, I recognize that as my ballot. No, it's never like that. Because once you put the ballot inside the box, it's generic,
Yeah,
you know, so it's not that. The idea the idea there is that they roll back because they cannot show the ballots anymore. Once the machine has totaled it, you can't break it down to how individual votes were. We can.
You can, because
We
of
can,
the
because of the
ballots.
ballot.
All right. Yes, Gus,
That
I'll allow
point,
your
no?
rejoinder.
In Germany, the constitution says that the voters must not only see how their ballots are being counted, but must also understand how their ballots are being counted. And obviously, if it's automated, they don't see it, and they don't understand what's going on. So that's why they discarded it. You know, because it's the loss of transparency. Now, in our case, sure, there's a ballot inside that ballot box, but you don't get to open the ballot box unless there's a protest.
Which is going to happen in the canvassing part.
Yeah, but you know, how can you protest? What document are you going to present to the RTC?
Okay, James?
But
you
even in a
have to answer
manual election, you can't open the ballot box at will either.
Ah.
And that will be the politicians now who will be asking for a recount, you know. So it's practically the same
practically
thing.
the same.
No, no,
And,
they're not the same.
yes, it is. And
not the same.
and the thing is,
They're not the
the
same.
thing is, we're now moving away from transparency for the voters, which is what Mr. Lagman was saying earlier, to now transparency for the benefit of the politicians. You know, so I mean, ultimately, we're automating the elections to make the elections faster
electorate.
for the electorate.
All right, I want you to, we're reaching the tail end of the show, so I want you to read off some quotes from different personalities, no, and want to get your reaction. Gus, you first, no. Tim Abejo from the Democracy Watch convener said the reported glitches in the PCOS machines and the questions on credibility on the automated election system, or AES, are not enough to justify the proposed regression that would only benefit election operators and cheaters. Manual elections must be forgotten, as it has been proven to be prone to fraud. The reported incidents are mainly due to issues not associated directly with the PCOS machines, but problems with the voters' lists, issues with the Board of Election Inspectors, among others. Your thoughts on that?
Well, this is what I was trying. The reason I presented that chart is so that the public would understand our elections. That bawas, for example, happens in canvassing. At precinct counting, even if it happens, we're only talking of a few hundred votes. In canvassing,
the
they're
massive
in the tens
dagbawas
of
is
thousands.
happening,
That's where the dagbawas happens. No?
Okay.
And, you know, it can be automated, you see.
right.
And in the 2010 and 2013 elections, there were not enough controls,
Okay.
even in canvassing.
All right. All right. And this one for you, James. This one's from the Philippine Star, and they quoted the People's International Observers Mission, or PIOM. And I quote, "In focusing on the machines, the COMELEC lost the people. The elections were not peaceful or violence-free. Neither were the elections fair nor honest."
Well,
Your thoughts?
I'd love to see the basis for their claim, because that doesn't seem to be talking about our elections. We have a full complement of elected officials, you know. So from the president down to the lowest levels, we have elected officials. So the elections did succeed. There were protests, as is normal,
there were cases
and
filed.
healthy, and cases filed, yes, but none have prospered. So I really don't see where they're coming from.
Generally, do you think that the electorate is happy? I mean, I know there were a lot of problems, but do you feel that generally they're happy with the PCOS machines?
Absolutely. And not just the electorate, also the administrators of the elections, because it made life safer for them.
All right. At this point, we only have enough time for your final words. Unfortunately, it's only 1 hour. We should make it a 2-hour program, no? But Gus, can you give your final words to our televiewers who are probably scrambling in their minds, no? What should I mean, what direction should I go? Manual or let's say, in your case, the open elections, or full automation?
I wrote a letter to the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee saying that I would like to request the COMELEC and the COMELEC Advisory Council to submit their working papers, and we'd like to have a copy of their working papers, because even a project in the private sector, even a project that will only cost a few 100,000 pesos, will require some kind of a tabulation and analysis of which
is more efficient
should be best, right? We're talking here of billions of our money, billions of pesos. And I haven't seen any working papers that they used in order to decide which system is better. Now, we've been saying, you know, what the public does not know is that much of those money, most of that money actually went to one foreign vendor. I would rather see the money going to our teachers. Let's even double their allowance. They deserve it, you know, rather than going to one foreign vendor.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Gus. James, your final words.
Automation represents a step forward from the old system that we had. It represents a step away from the proven dagdag bawas frauds, from the proven manipulations of election results that we all didn't like at all. So it makes very little sense to go back, to roll back that progress. It makes sense to lose all of the benefit that we've already gained. So I think we should give automated elections really the chance, you know, to be used again, and so that, you know, people will see that over time you're seeing a pattern of elections that are questioned less and less and less.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our guests, Director James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, and Gus Lagman of the Automated Elections System Watch. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Now let's see the results. We have our own voting here, and we have the results for our online poll. We asked our viewers which election system is better, full automation or open elections. Those that voted full automation, 70%, and those who said open elections, 30%. And that's our opposing views for tonight. Tune in again next week for another bold and engaging discussion on today's most relevant issues. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. Good night. God bless.